Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Today I am unboxing the SCT Sampler Kit for November, and I am going to make some easy Christmas cards after the unboxing. So let's go ahead and dive in. Here is my kit, and this is what it looks like if it comes in the mail. If you're not familiar with these kits, I will have all the links down below. If you're interested in getting these kits, you can go check them out. When we open up the kit, we have our theme word for the month, and as I dig through the pile, I'm getting distracted by some of the goodies in here, but what I'm looking for is this, which is the theme word die. For the year of 2022, we get a word, theme word die, and shadow piece to add to our collections. I'm curious to see if they're going to keep with words for 2023 or if they're going to change it up. At any rate, we also get a reusable item, which is a stamp from Hero Arts this time, and SCT also included a magnetic sheet, so that is good to go along with all of those dies that we've been getting. Now, there's usually two manufacturers of samples of products, and starting off with this one, we have some Spellbinders products. So we have a partial sheet of puffy word phrases, and we have a partial pack of embellishments that are definitely wintry and Christmassy themed. And then we have some extra pattern papers from another manufacturer, but before we get to those, we will take a look at the papers from Spellbinders. Now these papers are fairly thin, so I would use them as layering papers as opposed to base layers. And if you can see that a little bit, there is some gold foiling on some of the sheets, not all of them. And as we flip through, that one is mostly gold foiling. This one right here is actually printed. It looks like it could be foiled, but it's not. So keep in mind that there's some foiling and some not. And as I tip it in the light, you can see that it is pretty and shiny. That one is a very subtle one, but there is some gold polka dots in there. So that was a look at the Spellbinders papers that were included, and we'll take a look next at a Lawn Fawn collection. This is just pattern papers this time around. Now, often you'll get embellishments and pattern papers from multiple companies, but this time we just have the pattern papers. And here's the A side and the B side, and you're going to get a variety of colors, but the A sides have just 3 different patterns and the B sides are all the same. So I will separate out those by the A sides later so you can see the 3 distinct patterns. But these are all kind of sweater themed, and the back actually reminds me of hearts. So I think that red or the pink could actually flow into, say like a Valentine's Day, as well as being wintry. So that is good across multiple seasons. All right, that was a look at what's included in the kit. So let's go ahead and make a batch of Christmas cards. Now, these aren't complicated cards, but I like to keep it simpler for when I'm creating big batches of things. So I'm going to choose a variety of papers from both collections. I'm going to die cut the the Lawn Fawn papers with the die and turn that into the greeting for my cards. And then I'm going to use some of the gold foiled papers from the Spellbinders collection for some pizzazz. I will assembly line this whole process. So I've got card bases cut and folded. Then I will die cut all of my greetings. Now, I didn't mention that I'm going to include some stamping with my greeting, and we'll get to that in a minute. Die cutting that word, don't forget about the tittle over the I. So I often will use a little piece of low-tack tape to keep things together. I am also going to keep the negative of die cutting these out and make a second batch of cards, which I won't show the whole process, but I'll show you the final results at the end. So if you want to see more cards, go ahead and stick around for that. And again, low-tack tape will help keep all of the inner pieces of those letters together. And I'm going to cut strips of pattern paper, so I am going to create a whole range of these colors. I am going to punch out some snowflake shapes, and that was inspired by one of the actual die cut pieces had a snowflake shape to it, so I'm going to boost that up with pattern paper. I'm also going to use sections of the paper that I cut strips off of, sorry, to cut more of these circle embellishments to go along with the snowflakes. And here is where I get to stamping. Oh, no, not yet. This is stamping even more snowflakes because that stamp set had a small snowflake stamp on it. And I'm going to use gold embossing with my stamping, gold heat embossing, so that I can up that bling factor. Even though these cards are simple, I can add in little elements like that kind of spice them up just a little bit more. And that's what that sheet looks like when I'm all done. And I'm going to include about 3 of these snowflakes on each card. So I will have a variety of these kind of circular and snowflake elements on my cards. Now here is where I am going to extend my greeting. I am cutting my stamp apart. I had to take my glasses off to do it because my eyes are at that stage of life. This is a very tiny stamp, so it is a little hard to cut those apart, but I like to cut apart my clear stamps because I find them to be just much more flexible that way. And it also speeds up the stamping process when you're only worried about inking up that one part of the stamp that you need. Cutting them apart makes that much easier. So here is how I am going with that design. I'm taking a little time to kind of balance out color, shape, sizes, thinking about kind of triangular patterns of putting these circular elements onto this layout. I am going to pop up just the smallest ones onto foam tape to give them a little more weight on the card project because they are small visually. Popping them up gives them more visual impact. And there's where I'm kind of pointing out how I think about kind of randomizing these shapes into triangles. So each circle needs to make a triangle with 2 other circles nearby it. So that is how I kind of try and achieve randomness on this type of layout. Now I started inking up the edges with a freshly re-inked ink pad, and it was a little bit too heavy on the ink. So when I go back later, I will lighten that up a little bit. I kind of wanted to add a gray tone to these because it reminds me of the gray winter skies. And then the brighter pops of color with the greetings and the pattern papers, I think adds to that festiveness. So I did leave some pencil marks on that paper when I took everything apart to heat emboss. As you can see above the word wishes, it says winter. When I heat emboss the rest of that greeting, I had to disassemble the card to do that. And I marked it with pencils so that it would be really easy to reassemble again. And once I have the design down, then I can just assembly line the rest of them. I glued all the pieces in place that wouldn't get in the way of the heat embossing of the rest of the sentiment. And then I can just follow my card there up at the top right and just assembly line the rest of the placements of these circles. And that will finish up that batch of cards. As you can see, most of my inking on the rest of the cards was much subtler than that one right there. And so I was much happier with the softer gray as opposed to the harsher gray. But I will send it out in the mail anyway because I am imperfect, and hopefully whoever receives it will know that. And after I finished that set, I did go back and take the negative piece that I mentioned from the die cut words and trim them out a little bit to get them a little bit straighter, and came up with a design for that one with an image to the right of that greeting and then some dangly kind of ornaments to above the greeting. And then some of them didn't work out that way, so I came up with a few other random designs to finish off my batch of supplies. Now I still have plenty of supplies for doing some scrapbook pages later, so hopefully I will save the rest of these products for that. I will be back on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving here in the US, with some wintry inspiration for you, so I hope you will join me then. And until then, have an artful day.